Welcome to Eye on Sports, where we delve into the biggest Butler County sports topics. I'm your host, Butler Eagle Sports writer Derek Pyda. Joining me are fellow sports writer Brendan Howe and Eagle Sports editor Jake Merda Adams.
So you want to hear good stuff from the Penguins Flyers game I was at last week?
That they lost
Thursday night.
The Penguins are 1-6 in their last 7 games. Their one win is that Flyers game, and they were down 3-0.
My question is, you're a Flyers fan. Your wife, Mallory, is a Penguins fan. How much did she rub it in, or did she take mercy on you?
No, we were actually pretty good to each other. She, for the first 25, 30 minutes of the game, was getting progressively quieter as the score went from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 Flyers. And then after that, you know, she cheered whenever the Penguins scored. I don't think she thought that they were going to come back and win it until they tied the game. But she never really directed anything at me. She would just like get up and cheer, you know, out towards the stands. I'd sit there and boo just for fun, or yell "Go Birds," because there were a couple Flyers fans in the same section as me. But she didn't really say anything afterwards. We were both kind of like, that overtime goal really kind of sucked. The Flyers defense was awful on that one. And a couple of the Penguins fans around us were like, they gave me this look and they were just like, that was brutal. Like, they weren't even really like all that proud of Malkin scoring that goal. They were just like, that wasn't dramatic at all.
Was it just a question of your team letting their guard down, or what happened there?
The Flyers being the Flyers. I am now 0-3 in Philly-Pittsburgh related games I've been to live with Mallory. I think I have to stop going to these games.
Is there a Pirate Philly game in there? 2
of them. One last year for bachelor party, and one a year ago that we just went to for fun.
Next time the Steelers play in Philly, please go. They released Darius Slay today, and I wouldn't mind the Steelers signing him.
I think he could play for like one more year.
I don't think he likes Darnell Washington, though. I think he might stray away from
The Penguins fans were well behaved. They didn't give me a hard time. I didn't pick fights with anyone either. Like, I'm not there to try to rub it in anyone's face. When the Flyers scored, I cheered. When, you know, Penguins scored, I booed. You know, I didn't do anything to anyone. Everyone was good.
Back when I was really into pit football, which this was like late 90s, the Penn State Pitt rivalry had gone on a 4-year hiatus where it wasn't played.
Mm-hmm.
And they picked it back up in 97. And they played for 4 straight years, 97 through 2000. And the 1999 game, which was like the second game of the year, you know, Pitt wasn't expected to do anything that year. And as it turned out, they didn't do much of that year. But that particular game, it was at Beaver Stadium, and Penn State was at that point ranked like 5th or 6th in the country, I think. And they ended up beating Pitt, but they needed to block a field goal at the end. Pitt attempted a field goal that would have tied it at 20, and I think it was actually LeVar Arrington that blocked it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Arrington. And Penn State won the game 20-17, and we're coming down, you know, we were way up high in the one end zone. We're coming down like the concourse, like around and around to the bottom of the stadium. And, you know, Penn State, I had my Pitt jersey on, of course, you know, wore it with pride, and I was proud that Pitt at least put up a fight in that game, and all these Penn State fans were like, yeah, we kicked your butt. Yeah, I was like, dude, you have a legitimate shot at the national title this year. You're ranked like 5th or 6th in the country. Pitt's supposed to win 2 games this year, and you just beat us 20-17. Calm down.
I have such a similar story to that. The 1 year of the 4-year contract that Penn State had with Temple that they came to Philadelphia to play, it was, of course, like the highest or the most tickets sold to a Temple game in the last 20 years because a lot of Penn State fans showed up. And Temple was winning 10-3, I think it was, going into the 4th quarter. It's something they were winning late in the 3rd or going into the 4th till Bernard Pierce, star running back, great running back. He played for the Ravens for a couple years. Was injured, and the offense evaporated. They couldn't do anything else the rest of the game. Penn State won by 3 over Temple, mind you. This is Temple.
Slippery Rock will beat Temple.
Yes. At this point, maybe not. In 2013, maybe not. Or 2012, maybe not. But right now, absolutely. And my my parents came in for that game. They'd never watched college football games like before that, but it's Temple Penn State. My aunt and uncle, who are Penn State fans, drove in from Ohio to see this. It was a chance for a lot of the family to get together. My grandma came to see this game. Like, everyone came out of the woodshed to see this game. We're walking back. I'm distraught. They're, whatever. My parents don't really care too much one way or the other, so they were just having a good time. I'm walking down Patterson Avenue, I think it is. No, whatever it is the stadiums are on. I'm blanking. This is bad for my Philly geography. And a Penn State fan through the fence, yells, "Thanks for paying for my education." And I was like, who the heck are you talking to? I was like, you guys beat us by 3 points, and you're yelling at me through a fence, you coward.
That's it. Yeah.
How does that make? Thanks for paying for my education.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick up on that too.
I don't get it.
He must have been a little drunk.
It was such a bad bit of trash talk, and he's doing it through a fence where I was like, you're just a coward. You're just a coward.
If it came to it, would you fight another fan?
I don't think so. If I had to defend myself because someone attacked me, sure, I guess, but I would be doing it more so, I think, to get away.
Well, two seasons ago,
Are you going to tell us about a fight you were in?
No. There was this. We went to a Browns-Steelers game. At this point, this was in between me working for Steelers now, so I was there as a fan. I wasn't writing for the Steelers at all. This was kind of my only job at that point. And me, my brother, I hate when people say that. My brother and I, and Amelia, his fiance, all went to a Steelers game with my dad. Browns-Steelers Monday night. Steelers ended up winning that game. It was ugly, though. But there was this guy in a Johnny Manziel Browns jersey who every time the Browns did something well, and they had like control for the first half of the game, every time the Browns would do something well, he would turn around and give us his finger, or he would start like making gestures and stuff. And at one point, he like threatened to fight my dad. And my dad turned 50 this weekend. He's still pretty strong, but I would have had to step up in my dad's honor to fight that guy had he actually acted on that. So,
was your dad even doing anything back?
yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if he's just threatening to fight a guy who's standing there.
My dad was like heckling him.
You need to get skills like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes. Agreed.
I feel like I could hold my own in a fight.
I hear you're pretty tough with nunchucks, though.
Used to have some. When I was
we need to get him some of those pants.
Need to get him the shoes.
That the Taekwondo coach wears.
I've been in one like actual fight in my life.
You need to start
calling. I don't
calling.
even think you can call it that.
You need to start calling your brother Tyler Kip.
Oh, please.
Start calling him Kip.
It's actually funny because Tyler's the only person I've ever like fought for. Like, there was a kid in his class when we played for Butler. There was a kid in his class who's a star player. I won't say his name because I dislike him, and he probably wouldn't even know this. But we were in practice, and Tyler's on scout team, and they were doing first team punt. And this kid, it was the other way around. They were punting, and Tyler was a gunner, like the guy on the other side. And Tyler had neck problems in high school, and this kid knew that, so he would take Tyler's face mask and pull him to the ground just because he knew he could, and the coaches weren't going to say anything. So finally, like 2 or 3 times doing that, I'm like, if you do that one more time, I'm going to come out there, and I'm going to. He did it one more time, and I charged off the sideline, and we like got in a fight, and I like blacked out. I don't remember much of it, but the whole team had to run sprints afterwards because I fought the kid because he was messing with Tyler. Yeah, and it made me mad. Like, I was like, this may be like my team. I don't have any friends from that football team. Yeah. Like, that's how close that football team was. Nobody, like, I'm not friends with anybody. Tyler's not friends with anybody. I was like, if you're gonna mess with my brother, I'm gonna come out there and
that's dirty. Yeah. That's, especially to a teammate. Like,
why wouldn't coaches stop this?
Because they just weren't paying attention, I guess. Like, it was.
Well, that's comforting. So how old?
weren't watching.
I know, right? The coaches weren't watching. So how old was your brother? Like, how old were you guys?
I would have been 17. He'd have been 15.
Yeah, that's not cool.
But yeah,
don't hurt teammates.
I've punched Tyler in the face a good amount of times though. So
I mean, I fought my brother a few times.
It's like I can kick my brother's butt, but you better not.
Oh yeah.
He's like, you're not allowed to fight my brother, but I can.
Absolutely.
I
fought my brother a bunch of times
that
as a
story
kid.
you tell about the Jaguars playoff game that day, I got grounded for like half that Steelers game because Tyler did something I didn't like and I just socked him in the face. My mom came down. She's like, "Okay, you're."
Yeah, and the Steelers lose that game. It was a bad day for you. Bad day for me. 21-0, 9 minutes in.
I will say, being punched in the nose is like the worst feeling. You guys ever been punched in the nose?
I've been hit by a T-grip, though, in a Class 4 Rapid in the nose, and it broke it.
Who did that, Wayne Gretzky?
Yeah, it was Wayne. I forgave him.
No, like I don't even know how to like describe the feeling of being punched in the nose. Like it was just like I don't even.
Well, you just feel the break, right? It's like a shocking.
Yeah.
To me, it felt like a thud, and
it's
then
almost
there
like
was
you
just
see
blood,
stars.
and I was like, but I heard my nose crack.
But there's like a
and I was
certain like smell to it. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you get hit.
Because
there's a
you got
certain smell to
the
it.
iron
Yeah.
in your blood that is
Yeah.
directly
Yeah.
in your nose. Yeah.
and my eye cut. I had a cut,
I
so my eye was like.
broke my nose doing suicides during basketball practice. I
Ooh,
went down.
It's always basketball.
It's always bad.
It's always basketball.
I was going down to touch the line as the kid in front of me was coming up, and I just straight into the back of his head. Like no one's fault other than I was just too close and stupid mistake.
Tyler and I in a turkey bowl, so it would have been 2020. It would have been the COVID turkey bowl.
The COVID bowl.
We were still tackling then, and we went to tackle one of our friends, and he ducked, and we both collided. And I have 4 stitches right here, and he broke his nose like in the middle, and he has 4 stitches right there.
Sounds like
So
he got the worst
so
end of it, so that's good.
when Bailey did my eyebrows, I showed her the whole segment of us talking about eyebrows, and she was like, "I have to clip this, and I have to put this on my beauty page or on my page." So
10 minutes.
10 minutes. But yeah, she's gonna put it on her beauty page and her business page.
She better start advertising with us soon.
Yeah.
Better get discounts for this.
Are you gonna go and get your eyebrows done? You might need to get a wax like we were talking
Yeah,
about.
I'll get the bridge wax. There you go. There you go.
She looked at mine
Bridge
last night.
wax.
She looked at mine last night. She's like, "Your eyebrows still look really good." I was like,
It's like a wrestling hole. We should ask Santino Sloboda. Have you ever pulled a bridge wax on
"Should
somebody?
we ask Santino Sloboda about John Cena being a heel now?" Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Yep, the other night, I guess he was like shaking Cody Rhodes' hand, and Cody Rhodes is like the big wrestler right now. And The Rock did something like this and told Cena to like kick him in the privates. And John Cena's never been the bad guy in wrestling his entire time in wrestling, and now he's the bad guy. So everybody's like, "This is crazy." So I might have a reason to watch WrestleMania because John Cena is a bad guy.
I thought you were gonna tell me like he was a bad guy in like real life or something. I was gonna be like,
No,
wow, that would be.
people are making jokes about like like he's not gonna visit the Make-A-Wish kids in the hospital anymore.
We should ask Sloboda which WWE wrestlers you think he could kick the crap out of.
Let's do that.
Also,
You take it. You got your 2 questions
got
there.
it.
You throw it in at some point.
I got it.
Are you guys fans of like classic wrestling, like 80s, 90s?
I like late 90s and early 2000s.
Okay. Are you familiar with a guy named Big John Studd?
Yeah.
Okay. You know he's from Butler?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Really?
he is from Butler. Big John Studd's from Butler. He was back in the 80s with, Junkyard Dog, Coco Beware, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hillbilly Jim.
I never watched
He was
wrestling, really didn't like it, but I would play
that's a
WWE.
shame.
I would play the video game because that's fun.
Video game is fun.
The video game
yeah.
is fun as heck. Like I'd run around as Rey Mysterio and try to take down the Undertaker and just a bunch of free for alls. Me and my brother and my friend would play that for hours sometimes. Just go over game after game. We create weird looking characters.
I thought the 619 was like the craziest thing. Do you know what that is?
No.
Where Rey Mysterio, he runs and he holds onto the ropes and swings around, kicks the opponent in the face. He jumps off the top rope, lands on them like with his thighs on their shoulders, spins them around. I gotta show you because it's impossible.
It sounds
to
like something
explain.
like Black Widow in a Marvel movie would do.
It's crazy.
Who's your favorite wrestler or wrestling character?
My favorite wrestler of all time would probably be Jeff Hardy.
He didn't wrestle, but I'm a fan of Paul Bear.
Who? Paul
He
Bear.
was like
the urn guy.
the Undertaker's
the urn, yeah.
handler. He was the Undertaker's handler.
The guy
Paul
with
Bear.
the urn.
Somehow we got a WWE talk today. Didn't have that on my bingo card.
The Rock came back, and like everyone used to like The Rock, and now he's like the a-hole character.
He's the anti-hero.
Because he's in everything. He and Cena are in everything.
Although, have you seen San Andreas, the movie?
I have seen that movie. Yeah, that's
Pretty good in
where
that.
the fault, the
He's
earthquake
pretty
and
good
stuff.
at that. Yeah,
You know, want to know one last thing before we get Sloboda on here? This is how old I am. If you want to ask me how old I turn in a couple months, this is the age that I turned. I got a mattress topper to help with hip pain. I'm that old.
Mattress toppers are solid. They're
I know.
solid.
Oh man, it's like that and the pillows between my knees so that way I don't like roll over.
I haven't
onto
done
that
that
bad
yet.
hip. Oh man,
I bought an Awala last night. You
I
know
miss
those
one.
are like the water bottles.
no.
They're like there's a water
he
bottle.
was on there. Sorry.
Santino might know what an Awala is. But they're like $40. It's like a thermos to put water in.
Okay.
I bought one. I'm gonna have it on the show now. So
Hey Santino, what do you think of who's your favorite WWE wrestler?
I have to go with John Cena, to be honest.
Oh, what do you think about him being a bad guy then?
I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that you mentioned earlier? Who's your favorite wrestler or wrestling character?
Paul Bear. He was the Undertaker's handler. He always carried the urn around with him.
Do you know who Jeff Hardy is?
No.
Oh man, see, even I'm gonna start feeling old now. Like,
Santino, this guy is going back about 40 years, but are you familiar with a wrestler from the 80s, Big John Studd?
No.
He's from Butler. He is from Butler.
he does the real wrestling. So.
Yeah, he does the real wrestling. Yes.
I'll have to do my research.
We're gonna have to ask you at some point, Santino, which WWE wrestler you think you could take. That's where this conversation's going today.
All right, so
I honestly think I could take The Rock, to be honest.
The Rock. I love it. We gotta get it. We gotta get him in the ring.
it's been a few weeks.
Crazy.
It's been a few weeks since we had an interview segment here on the Eye on Sports podcast, but we are making up for it today because we have with us Butler Junior wrestler Santino Sloboda, who is headed to this week's state tournament in Hershey as a district and regional champion with a, get this, undefeated record of 45-0. Thank you for joining us, Santino. Welcome to the show.
Yep, thank you guys for having me. It's been a long past couple of weeks, so I'm excited for this weekend.
I'm sure you are. Your effort at the Class 3A West Regional this past weekend included a pin and 3 other wins by a combined score of 33-2. You turned in great freshman and sophomore seasons, Santino, but what are your thoughts on your current season? What are the main factors in your dominance so far?
Honestly, I think my freshman and sophomore year, I was kind of still like young and like not as experienced, but I've gotten stronger. I've gotten mentally just like I'm more confident in myself now, and my coaches have helped me a lot with that. Like that used to be a thing last year where I'd go into a match, like I'd get up like 1 or 2 points and I'd kind of shut down because I'd be scared to like let it fly and think these kids could score on me. But I think this year that's kind of been my thing, just been scoring as many points as possible, and I've been pretty good. So
Yeah, and how old were you when you began wrestling, and how long was it before you kind of gained a passion for it?
I think I started when I was like 6, and I don't think I really liked it at first, but I think as I kept like getting better and winning matches, I started to like it more. And then when I was 7, I started going to clubs, and from then it just took off, and I started loving it.
So I remember seeing your name in youth wrestling results. I guess this would have been when you were like 9, 10, 11. How involved were you in the sport at that point as far as tournaments? I mean, how hectic was your schedule when it came to wrestling, say, 5, 6 years ago?
Honestly, it was probably more crazy back then because in that time, my parents would take me like all across the country. We'd go to like Indiana, Michigan, all these crazy like tournaments, and I'd take like a couple of losses a weekend just because I was wrestling like so many tough guys. And I would kind of get hard on myself because I'd take a lot of losses, but my dad would be like, you're wrestling the best kids in the country every weekend. So it was tough, but it was fun.
Did you ever feel at that point, just with all the travel and the hectic schedule, as a 10, 11-year-old kid, did you ever feel overwhelmed with it at any point?
A little bit, but at the same time, I was wrestling like with kids that were doing the exact same stuff as me. Like all my friends from like other areas in Pittsburgh would go to like the same tournaments as me, and we'd all be like, we would go to practice with each other all week. So we'd all be like, I don't really want to go to this tournament, but our parents are making us go. So that's kind of how it was.
How did you pass time in the car on those trips?
Well, my sisters would come with me every time, so like.
Oh, I'm
they
sorry.
kinda keep me
I'm
occupied
sorry.
and, like, we turn into a vacation for them too, so it was fun.
Yeah, so what was it about wrestling that kind of got you hooked in the way you are?
Honestly, I think it's kind of like the way that I've always played sports. I feel like I've like just been like a little bit different than everybody else. Like the way that like when in wrestling, my style is a little bit different. I feel like I used to play like every sport, and I was just really athletic. And in wrestling, I feel like I can kind of like open up and like do stuff that nobody else really does, and people can help me with that a lot. Like my coach Blake cut out practice like every day. He's like showing me new stuff. Like it's crazy. So I think that, and just getting better and getting like beat up by kids who are better than me, that also is just like I could be so much better. I think that's one of the main things.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff that you've been talking about here these first couple minutes is kind of tied into like the mental side of the game, a little bit like mental health with the confidence side of stuff too. So how much is like outsiders look at wrestlers as like strong, tough. You got your it's one-on-one, like it's the ultimate combat sport in many ways. So what is it about the mental side, the self-confidence side, the even a little bit of ego that maybe someone like us doesn't quite understand about wrestling? What is it that you guys have to battle and fight through that we don't quite see?
Honestly, I could be wrestling somebody that's not that good, and like it won't bother me at all. Like I could go out there and pin the kid in 30 seconds. But once you start wrestling better and better kids, and you start like getting farther into the season, it starts like playing in your head a lot. Like, what if I lose this match, or what if I can't score on this kid, or what's gonna happen if this. And I think I was always like that when I was younger too. Like I remember I would ask my dad before I wrestled tough kid. I'd be like, "Well, what if I lose?" And my dad would be like, "It doesn't matter. You're just wrestling. It's wrestling. It's just a wrestling match. Like you're going out there for 6 minutes, and whoever scores the most points wins." So I think that's kind of been what it is this year, is just like looking at it as a wrestling match, and nothing else really matters. Like that's how you kind of have to look at things now, and that kind of has built my confidence a ton.
Yeah, so I went to cover the Whoop-Eel Swimming Championships last Friday, and I was worrying when I was going into those, what if I can't find a story here? What if I don't see anything? And unlike you, Jake said he would fire me. So he said he'd just get rid of me if that happens.
Is it the same now going into states? Like you're going up against the kid from Becca, the Northampton kid. You guys are like the top 3 ranked wrestlers, I believe, from Flow, at least when I was checking last week. So is it the same thing where you're trying to be like, it's just wrestling, it's just another match, or does this change now? Because it's now states. This is what you've been building for all year.
Yeah, my past 2 years, that's like how it was. I remember last year I was wrestling a kid that like first round I should have killed him. I only beat him 12-0 because I remember being so nervous, like going out on the mat. I was like, I'm in states now. Like this is huge. It's a huge arena, and you look out, and it's like, it's just crazy. But somebody told me last week, it's Gavin Teasdale. He's my assistant coach, coached him in high school. He's super good. He told me, just look at the circle and nothing else matters, because you're literally just on the wrestling mat. Like everything else doesn't play into it. It's just you and the kid you're wrestling on the mat with the ref. And I think that is kind of how it's going to be. I mean, these 2 kids that are in my bracket are super good. They're like both top 15 in the country. One of them got 3rd at Worlds. So, I mean, it's going to be fun wrestling them, but like, I just have to like have a good mindset going out there, and it's just wrestling. Like, I think it's going to be fun.
You talked a little bit about you played other sports growing up. So what other, it doesn't sound like you have hobbies, but what hobbies do you have at this moment outside of wrestling?
I like to golf with my friends a lot in the summer. I'm like terrible, but they kind of carry me. So hopefully I'll be a little bit better this time around. And then I love UFC too.
Really? Who's your fighter right now?
I like Charles Oliveira.
Okay.
Santino, considering what you can do to people, I don't think any of your friends are going to make fun of your golf game. You could just put them in a half
true.
Nelson there on the 9th green.
Is there anything that you do, like you mentioned that you have somewhat of nerves going into big meets? I don't want to put words in your mouth there, but is there anything you do to kind of calm yourself going into those meets? Like I know music's kind of a basic thing, but anything that you kind of turn to prepare?
Honestly, talking to my friends like before my matches and stuff, and just doing stuff to keep my mind off, it really helps. Like I'll talk to my coach Alex Evanoff like a lot before my matches, because he's really helped me with this a lot this year. And I think that's one of the main things. And then just like telling yourself that it's just wrestling, and that like any position that I get put in, like I've practiced in every position that there can be. So I think that I'm better than everybody in whatever position that I can be in. And I think that really helps me.
Santino, graduation for you is from high school is about 15 months away, and you have committed already to wrestle at the University of Pittsburgh. Have you thought about what your ultimate goal is in the sport, 3, 4, 5 years from now?
Honestly, I think if I can just get to my highest potential, I think I can do anything that I want. And I think the most basic answer is be national champ. And I think I could do that if I keep getting better and working with the right people. And that Pitt team's going to be super good. They have a ton of good recruits coming in. So I think it'll be fun. We'll be able to win some titles with that team. And yeah, I'm excited.
So you're 45-0, like we've said, as you prepare for the state tournament here. That runs Thursday through Saturday. One thing you have yet to accomplish in your varsity career is to win a state championship. Would anything less than a state title this week be a disappointment for you?
I think obviously that's the goal, but if something happens and I do fall short, I think my main thing is going to be just to get the next best thing. So if I would lose early on, quarters, semis, go get third. And if I make it to the finals and lose in the finals, it's not the end of the world. Like there's two really tough kids in this bracket, and everybody at the state tournament's good. So I just want to wrestle as good as I can and make sure I finish strong.
Is it this? You would be the first state champion out of Butler, right?
Yeah.
So is that motivational to you? Is that nerve-wracking to you? Like, is there a pressure there or no? Just knowing that there's a little bit riding on this if you were to win it.
I just think it'd be cool. Like I'm already the first 2-time WPIAA champ, and I think that's awesome. So if I could be the first state champ, I think that'd be crazy. So I think that'd be cool.
So afterwards, we'll get your match with The Rock hooked up there. We'll figure that out.
That'd be sick.
on Netflix, we'll get a couple $1 million deal. We'll take like 20% of the cut.
Yep.
What's you were at Hershey last year, so what are you going to be doing when you're in between the wrestling there? Is there a restaurant you want to head to, or what are you going to be doing at anything that you have planned for like off the mat stuff those 3 days?
Yeah, so Coach Denner's son, my friend Sutton, I'm making him bring his Xbox so that we could play UFC on the Xbox. So that is my favorite game.
Awesome. Santino, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck this week in Hershey. What is your dog's name? I'm told to ask you.
Bella.
We can hear her walking around on the hardwood there.
Yeah, she's somewhere around here. I don't know where she went.
Is she your dog? Is she your sister's dog or your parents' dog? Who does she go to more?
Honestly, she doesn't really like me right now because she's been coming in my room and I've been yelling at her. So right now it's like my dad's dog.
Oh, Santino, be nice to the puppy. Come on.
Hey, we're all dog people on this show. So.
Yeah.
Good luck with the dog. Good luck on the match this week, Santino. Thank you for joining us.
Yep. Thank you guys for having me.
Talk to you later, Santino.
We have so much to go over. So much has happened over the last 4 or 5 days, and we each kind of took a slice of it, worked on it, talked with different people for the paper and for our website. So we're going to divide it up here. Brennan, I'm going to go to you first because Luke Lamb, who is a student at North Catholic swimming for Mars because they have a co-op this year, just won his third and fourth whip-bill titles in swimming, 50 freestyle and the backstroke, I believe. So how was the discussion you had with Luke Lamb, the 2-time champ, actually 4-time champ now?
It kind of felt like Groundhog Day because last year I went to cover the WPIAA Championships for the first time, took over for you, and the people I talked to there were Gianna Lavarini, Luke Lamb, and the Schreckengoss girls from Freeport. And then, what do you know? Same thing this year, just like different stories. The most interesting story I thought was Gianna Lavarini talking about her lucky swim cap because I asked her, like, she was going in, she was second seed, she won it the previous year. I said, do you kind of go to those races, like, even though you're second seed, like, kind of having a feeling you're going to win? She's like, no, like, I would never say that. Like, I would never think that. And then she's like, I used to have a lucky swim cap. And right there, I was like, yep, I got a story right here. She's got to tell me about the swim cap. And so that was pretty cool. But Luke.
Did she say she has a new one yet? I did enjoy that lead.
She lost that one. She got one after that. And I asked her, I was like, is this the same one that you got after that? She's like, no, I've ripped them a few times since then. So she just had that one for a really long time. Then Luke was, I think it helped being face to face with him because it was more like conversing when I was talking to him. Like the day before, I was kind of went in with like a set story, like, oh, he's a champion in 2 different classifications. Didn't really get much out of them, him or his coach that day. And then I talked to him on Friday, and we started talking about like Mexican food, and he said he had condado the night before, and he likes Moe's better than Chipotle. So of course I had to have a little argument there with him, like, what is it about Moe's that you like better than Chipotle? Like, I just don't understand that. So then he told me he eats bananas, and I asked him about that kind of like tradition before a race. I told him I'm allergic to bananas. If I eat them, my throat gets scratchy. So it felt a lot like Groundhog Day, except for the fact that I didn't get a $45 parking ticket this time. I parked like a good half, 3/4 of a mile away. So,
well, I was down at Pittsburgh for the First day of swimming. Double A, that is.
Yeah.
Triple A was Luke Lamb.
You're talking about that. Actually, Keith Barnes asked me, which is funny. I was like, he's like, are you Derek for today? I was like, I was supposed to be Derek yesterday.
We're interchangeable. But I mentioned about Luke Lamb being a 4-time champ. Now, last year he was swimming for North Catholic before the co-op, and he won 2 titles in Double A. This year he wins 2 titles in Triple A swimming for Mars. So now 4 individual titles, going to states as a senior and looking for big things there. A really cool story I thought that came out of the Double A meet on Thursday was Kira Schreckengust won the butterfly. It's her 3rd title in 4 years for Freeport's girls. But in that race, right next to her was her sister Casey. Kira's a senior, Casey's a sophomore. So I thought it was pretty cool that you had 2 sisters swimming right next to each other. And I talked to their mom, who's the coach, Cheryl Schreckengust, and I said, what was it like watching that swim? Because usually if you're watching one of your swimmers or one of your daughters, you know who to root for. Who do you root for when you got 2 kids in the same race? She said, I took a deep breath and I hoped for the best. And I think, considering the circumstances, it turned out pretty well for the Schreckengust family. Kira, the senior, won her 3rd title in 4 years in the butterfly. Casey finished 5th and has a really good shot at getting the states. And, again, she's only a sophomore, so she's got obviously room to improve, and she's going to be coming back the next 2 years. So that was a story out of the Double A meet on Thursday that I covered. Also in swimming, Molly Masella, a senior from Slippery Rock, I believe their championship meet for District 10 was held in Ohio.
Yep, Spire.
Long story. But Molly Masella won her 3rd straight butterfly title, District 10 Double A. So she's going to the state meet at Bucknell University in about a week and a half as a 3-time champ in the butterfly. On Saturday, I covered Karn City's girls. I'm going to throw one thing out here. I stuck this in the story, but I'm sure you didn't read it, Brennan. 4 minutes into the game, okay, Karn City's going for their 3rd straight District 9 3A title. They're playing Cranberry. This is Cranberry up near Oil City. 4 minutes into the game, Cranberry's coach calls a timeout. It's 8-0 Karn City. Cranberry has committed 8 turnovers, and they have yet to attempt a shot. That's kind of the day. Now, after that, I actually thought after that, Cranberry kind of rebounded because last year, Karn City won the District 9 title by giving up 20 points. The year before, they won the District 9 title by giving up 21 points. And the fact that Cranberry actually scored 32 points on Saturday, albeit in a 50-32 loss, I actually think the Berries were respectable. They found a way to at least be competitive throughout the rest of the game. But Karn City's girls headed to states now as a 3-time District 9 champion. And North Boys Hoops, this game was played late Thursday night at the Peterson Event Center. The crazy stat that came out of this game for me was the fact that North Catholic was out-rebounded in that game 40-17 against Bell Vernon. And yet, in the 4th quarter, there were 2 instances where North Catholic was 1 point down. I think once was 44-43, and another instance was 47-46. They ended up losing the game. But the fact that they got absolutely dominated on the boards and they found a way to stick around and had a chance late, obviously, if these 2 teams meet again, it would be in the state semifinal, which would be a couple weeks from now. Bell Vernon, North Catholic. Bell Vernon is a very big team. They've got a lot of muscle underneath. If these 2 teams run into each other again, North Catholic's going to have to find a way to grab a few more boards because when you're getting out-rebounded by 23, I give them credit for keeping it close, but I don't see them winning if they get dominated on the boards again. But, again, that's down the road. They'd have to win, 3 games to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brendan, you want to know what Derek told me in the office today about his Karn City story? He thought about texting me a headline suggestion. Karn City makes wine out of berries.
Wine out of berries.
Stomping on it. Well, it's grapes, berries,
It's a type of berry.
Yeah, it's a type
Close
of berry.
enough. Still bad pun.
Well,
Sometimes you gotta have fun. Sometimes, put out extinguish the
all right,
fires.
we got
forest
Jake
fires.
here to give us an update on the wrestling regionals.
I feel like I need breaking news sounder on underneath this. Yeah, so we got 4 going to states this week. 2 boys, 2 girls. Both boys, Santino Sloboda, obviously, 127. He's, I believe, the 2nd seed in that bracket based on what I saw the other day. He's ranked number 3 in the state from Flow Wrestling going into last week. That might change if they do another rankings this week. I'm not sure, but he was 3rd going in last week. He's got a decent shot at winning a state title here. I mean, the Becca kid, Keanu Dillard, he's a top seed. He's good. I mean, got to be if you're coming from Becca making it to the states as a number 1 seed. Usually those guys are pretty solid.
Becca just won the team title a few weeks ago.
They did. And Northampton, my old stopping grounds, has the number 2 ranked wrestler, Gabe Ballard. So Sloboda's got some talent to go up against, and he tells us in the interview, they're nationally ranked as well. So, Sloboda's got a chance to once again beat a nationally ranked wrestler on a big stage in a championship setting. But he's going with a teammate this year with Case Chop at 145. You and I have covered him a little bit the last couple weeks. Didn't look the best this weekend from talking with Rob, who was out there shooting the action for us and was chatting with some of the coaches and with Case himself. Settled for 5th. He needed to win that 5th place match just to get to states. It's going to dig him a little bit of a hole if he wants to try to make a run at a medal, which I know is a goal of his this year, is to medal. Coming out as the 5th seed from a district is a tough ask, or out of a region is a tough ask, but he's also shown he's capable of beating some of the better wrestlers in this half of the state. So if he can put 1 or 2 runs together, he could be on a podium on Saturday, but it's going to be a tougher challenge now. He's got to now wrestle in Thursday's pigtails just to get into the first round. And if he does that, then he's, we'll see. But on the girls' side, we've got Braley Ireland, if I could not slur my words here. She's going in as a regional champion and Whitfield champion now, Knox first ever on both sides. I'm not sure how she's going to do in that side of things. The PA Wrestling has rankings out, but they do top 5s in most of the weight classes. She's listed as an honorable mention. She's been there most of the year. So you got to think she's at least a podium contender as a junior, which would be a pretty solid season for that program. And Seneca Valley's Hannah Hornick got 3rd at regionals last week, so she's going to have decent seeding going into the state championship. I don't know for sure if she's going to be a medal contender. She's not ranked by PA Wrestling, but it's been a good couple weeks for her. She definitely bounced back in regionals.
Regarding Case Chop, obviously, I mean, the kid wants to medal. He wants to finish his career on top of that, or somewhere on that podium, and that's understandable. But as an outsider looking at his career, he's a senior. Just getting the Hershey. I mean, so many wrestlers look really good in December, January, even February. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to the postseason, sometimes they just don't have it. They don't even qualify for states. So I think it's a feather in his cap just to get the states, and obviously, hopefully he does well enough there to grab one of the top 8 places so he comes home with a medal. But still, as a senior, it's a great way to know that Hershey's the last destination. Mm-hmm. We'll see how he does there, but it's the last stop in a high school wrestler's career. So,
and he's, I think, like top 5 in.
It's just in, Jake.
I think he's top 5 in program history and wins as well. Yeah. I think that's what he's climbed up to at this point. Because
he hit 100 wins back in early December. Because I did the story on him.
Yeah. So he's already one of the best wrestlers the program's produced. Mm-hmm. Medal would definitely help seal that, but I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think it's necessary to make him necessarily. Yeah, that was really good English there. I don't think it's necessary for him to stay on that consideration, I guess.
Great name for a wrestler too, Case Chop.
Love that name.
Just love it.
With a K and a CH.
Yes, Case Chop. Good luck, Case.
You're gonna pop that.
If I miss this question right there, buddy, right in your face.
Back to 500 you are.
I know.
So, Derek.
Whatever.
Who is the only NFL player to both have an interception and throw an interception in the same game?
Have an interception and throw an interception.
Tony Dungy. Former Steeler.
Wow.
2 seconds. 2 seconds. Back during his playing career. Yeah, obviously during his playing career. Tony Dungy played for the Steelers and the 49ers in the mid-late 70s.
It would be even more impressive if he did that as the Colts coach.
Yeah. But he was, I believe he won 1 Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl with the Steelers in 78 against the Cowboys. And I believe it was that year or the year before in 77 where he was kind of like their emergency quarterback, and he threw an interception, but he also had one on defense. Because that was his main position was a defensive.
I'm going to ramp up these questions for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to put you like below 500.
Derek, it's 3 in a row.
Yeah.
That's
He's
your
on
your
fire.
record. He's on fire. Bang!
Yeah, catching fire. Me and who's the woman from Hunger Games?
Katniss Everdeen.
That's it. Oh, that's a name. Katniss, baby, I'm here for you.
And Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, I like Katniss better.
Anyways.
Beyond
Beyond Brendan with Butler, as Derek calls it. As we know, this past week was the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. I have always found this event to be pretty interesting. When I was in high school, I would watch it because I had nothing better to do, just keep it on the background. These days, I feel like that was a waste of time, and I feel like it's kind of a waste of time for players that go there to do it. What are you guys' opinion on the Combine, and is it kind of an antiquated thing for them to have?
Good, Jake.
I think the measurements are largely antiquated. That's a lot of the stuff that I hear is.
Did you care when Kenny Pickett had tiny hands?
I really did. Because I knew he was a future Eagle in
Oh,
3 to 4 years. Gonna
you
help
knew
us
he
to
was
the
going to
Super
take
Bowl.
that snap. He didn't want those tiny
Yep.
little fingers to.
We need to make sure they were a quarter inch big enough to be able to take that kneel down and win the game. I think some of the measurements from what I hear, I'm not intelligent enough on this stuff. Like they would like to see this evolve into stuff that's more relevant to the positions, but I've also heard that a lot of these teams have built decades of data based around this stuff. So if you were just overhaul all of that, what's the comparison now? I don't know. I think it's
I wrote something
it's a
today.
chance for reporters to get drunk every night.
I wrote something today about the Steelers, and mock drafts just fly all around this time of year. And one of the mock drafts I wrote about had the Steelers taking Matthew Golden over Emeka Egbuka. Matthew Golden is a Texas receiver. He's a good receiver, but he's not like he obviously didn't play for a program like Ohio State, and Emeka Egbuka is the all-time leader in receptions and receiving yards for that program, which, Chris Carter and Chris Olave and Marvin Harrison Jr. and all those guys. And just because he ran a 4.29 they're like, yeah, he should be drafted. He might be the first receiver drafted now. It's like he ran in a straight line in 4 seconds. Why does that make him a better receiver than someone who has records for an all-time program? But what do you think about the Combine?
It's televised, right? I absolutely have no desire to sit down and watch, guys jumping, guys running. If it was a track meet, it'd be a different thing. But it's not a track meet. I will say this though: if how did Tom Brady do at the Combine back in 2000?
He looked like a toothpick in underwear.
There you go.
That's how he did.
The guy has won 7 Super Bowls. Some view him as the greatest quarterback of all time, and he stunk at the Combine. Jerry Rice had, I don't know what his, how he did, but I know Jerry Rice was not the first receiver drafted in 1985. I know there was at least one receiver, Eddie Brown, drafted before him.
Do you know what his 40 time was in that? I actually remembered this. I was off by 1/100th.
I'm going to say 40.52. 4.52.
Nope.
4.67.
If he ran a 40.
Brendan was much closer. He ran a 4.71. You wouldn't get drafted as a receiver
and it's Jerry Rice. I'm sorry, Jerry. I just had you running the 40-yard dash in 40
They measured Tez Johnson. They weighed Tez Johnson, the Oregon receiver who's Bo Nix, like half brother, step brother, whatever, adopted brother. And he weighed 154 pounds, and he ran a 4.55 40.
I did not like the Devontae Smith draft by the Eagles a few years ago because he's like 171, and I think that's adding a few weights under his shoes. And I'm like, he's going to get killed. Just DBs are bigger than this guy.
He doesn't get hurt a lot, does he?
No, he doesn't.
No.
He's been surprisingly healthy, and he's surprisingly at that size, you better be agile, or
he won a
otherwise you are
Heisman,
going to
so
get killed. But
he crushed my dreams of an Ohio State National Championship 2020.
So there are examples of guys who go on to have not just good, not just great, but Hall of Fame careers in the NFL.
like Kenny
Tom
Pickett.
Brady, Jerry Rice, just to name 2 that obviously the Combine mattered. It didn't
was
matter for them.
only a matter of time before I brought up this name on the show. But Shedeur Sanders, I think the interview part is a very interesting part of the combine because not only do I get to write about like what this player said this player said that, but Shedeur Sanders is arrogant. Like he's very confident in himself, and
I think
like
most of these guys aren't.
Not as outwardly as arrogant as
Oh.
Shedeur Sanders. And he said like if you don't want to change the culture around your team, don't draft me. And he's just like, are you going to get up there and say if
So
you
the Rooneys are on the phone right now because you know how they love change.
Hey, Shedeur Sanders was actually recently compared to Kenny Pickett by, I think, FanDuel. They're like, these quarterbacks are similar coming out of college, so I'd prefer not to have Shedeur Sanders.
Can you imagine a Giants locker room with Aaron Rodgers and Shedeur Sanders?
Oh.
That's just
I would actually like pay to hear those conversations.
Oh, it'd be so funny.
A fly in the wall, as they say.
Continue to be irrelevant. Speaking of football, we got basketball.
Yes, basketball brackets, district championship games, and consolations just wrapped up over the last few days. We have 7 teams who are going to make a run, hopefully, at a state title. We got both teams from Mars, boys and girls teams from North Catholic. We got Karn City girls, Slippery Rock girls, and Knock boys. Jake, you typed up the brackets for us. What are your thoughts on the way things broke down for our teams?
Not entirely sure. Still I gotta get used to the western side of the brackets. I'm so used to covering District 3. It mostly would play eastern side, but it would get into some Whitfield teams depending on how far down the bracket you were. So I got to get a feel for this a little bit more and what the talent is like. But I do think that North Catholic obviously should be around for a little bit. They got some, finishing second and third in their divisions or in their districts gives them somewhat favorable seating because Whitfield sends 7, I think, in each of those classifications. So, they got somewhat favorable seating there. The Karn City one could be interesting. They could get Greensburg Central Catholic in a few weeks, and that's tough.
That would be they'd have to win 2 games to get
Yeah.
there. So that would be a nice run right there if they get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how good Central Cambria is, so I can't say for sure, what that matchup might look like, but I think they're going to get to that round at least, and then after that, it looks like it's Greensburg Central, which that's probably where the end of the run is at most, but that's still, like you said, a good run.
One thing I want to point out here, this really doesn't have anything to do with basketball, but Slippery Rock girls, who finished 4th in District 10 Class 4A, their first round game is against Oakland Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this out near the end of last week. I was up in Meadville to cover Slippery Rock girls last week. They lost to Harbor Creek in that game, but I found out that day that if they play Oakland Catholic, this was that day, and actually, as it turned out, they are playing Oakland Catholic. Jeff Steele, Slippery Rock's girls basketball coach, who was his Pony League baseball coach in 1985, Oakland Catholic's current girls basketball coach.
So that's what he was cryptic about in his text to me over the weekend.
And he, I guess it's literally been like 37 years since he even talked to this guy. And here they're going to be facing off in the state playoffs. So I thought that was a pretty cool reunion that's going to be happening on first round of the states.
That's interesting. We should have an emergency pod here later this week and have the 2 of them on.
What do you remember about baseball? Speaking of football, we got basketball and baseball.
What are your thoughts on the brackets?
I feel like I've gotten a good chance to see most of the teams that we have in states, in Mars, Knock. I don't think I've seen North Catholic boys. I've seen North Catholic girls against Oakland Catholic. I feel like all of these teams have what it takes to kind of make a deeper run. Mars is a grittier team who Austin Wroblewski doesn't look like he'd be the basketball player that stands out when you see him, and yet he is the guy that everybody is kind of afraid of when they take the floor.
20 points a game.
Then at North Catholic is North Catholic, both boys and girls.
Excellent analysis, Brendan.
I expected them to be here even before the season started, even when Jim Rocco really didn't give me much at the start of the season. Like, you're going to have a good team. And then who else? Slippery Rock girls, we've written different features on them, and it's interesting that not only are they in the state, I think it's interesting that they're in the state tournament, being that they weren't that great last year. They weren't that great the past few years, and kind of flip things around here.
Speaking of them, actually, real quick, did you see how they lost on Saturday? Did you see the play?
I did not see the play. I heard it was a buzzer beater.
Yeah, the reason I wrote it up in the little roundup on Saturday, I found it on Twitter and I watched it. It is a right elbow turnaround hook shot. like gets a rebound, grabs it, turns around away from the defender, and just chucks it up, and it banks off the backboard and in.
For Franklin.
At the buzzer.
Wow.
For Franklin. That is, and you just
Wow.
watch Slippery Rock react just like they had no idea what just hit them in the face.
That's
brutal.
a very, very tough way to lose. I will say this. At least for their sake, they knew no matter what happens in that game, we are playing at least one other game. Because if your season ended on that play, oh my gosh.
You got a week to recover from that at least. But anyway, sorry, Brendan.
The Knock boys, they were kind of the highest touted Whoop Eagle Class 4A team coming in. North Catholic ended up beating them in the regular season. Then they lost in the postseason to miss out on making the championship a few rounds short. But I think they also have a really good team. They have a guy that they can lean on in Bowman. So I think all these teams have a chance to keep us working over these next few weeks, which, yay.
One thing I want to mention about Karn City's girls, this past weekend I only covered them for the first time this year in the district championship game against Cranberry. They always play good defense, it seems like. But in the last 3 games, and I know obviously once you get to states, the road's going to get harder and harder. But the last 3 games, Naomi Vaneski has scored 64 points. So anytime
really good.
you can have somebody inject, 15, 16, 17 points, and like I said, over the last 3 games, she's averaging over 20 points a game. You can inject that type of offense to a team that's capable of playing incredibly tough defense. I think Karn City's got a shot. We don't know what these other teams are. Central Cambria, we'll see how far Karn City goes. But I would say this, they won the state championship back in 2000. Since then, I can't imagine there being many Karn City teams who entered the state playoffs with a chance to make a run as good as this one. They've just got – right now they're playing great on both ends of the floor, and that's, as a coach, that's all you can ask for.
We're heading into March Madness here in a few days. We're going to probably all be filling out our brackets. If you had to put 5 Kit Kat bars down on which of our teams is going to make the deepest run, who would it be?
Well, let's go boys and girls. Boys?
Knock boys.
I was going to say Knock boys too.
I was going to say Knock boys.
And girls?
North Catholic.
Heck, I just talked them up. Karn City. I'm laying it down right now. Karn City.
Those are really like the best picks. If I gotta mix it. Can I go back on my boys pick just so we have something different?
Give me those
Jake,
Kit Kat
you can do
bars.
anything you want.
Thank you, Dad.
You're the boss.
I'm gonna go North Catholic boys makes the deepest boys run, and I'm gonna say Karn City girls makes the deepest girls run.
North Catholic, Karn City girls, Knock and
North Catholic.
Karn City girls and Knock boys.
All right.
Don't prove me wrong, guys. Good luck to our teams.
Go find all of our coverage this week and over the weekend at butlereagle.com/section/sports. Obviously, we'll be in the paper every day, but we'll be hard at work covering. Brendan's got PIHL hockey tonight, which we did not get to. Seneca Valley and Mars are playing in first-round games.
Seneca Valley earned the top seed in AAA, and you get to be there.
So you'll have that coverage by the time this drops. Thursday will be the start of state wrestling, so be sure to watch out for updates from that from us. And the rest of this weekend, we will be very busy covering everything across the state.
State swimming is a week and a half.
Woo! Break.
We encourage you to subscribe to the Butler Eagle YouTube channel and Apple or Spotify podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Alter Eagle Podcast and at Butler Eagle News. Goodbye.